Did you hear the clapping when we mentioned the test match, Anchit, tomorrow? Does anyone here support England?
Depends on who they're playing.
I'm literally in the minority of one. My God, that's weird. That's very weird. But it'll be fun. We'll come back to the test match later. Beyond the boom, building a lasting legacy for Nykaa. Anchit Nayar, CEO Beauty and E-commerce at Nykaa, joins us now. It's funny we're talking about legacy, Anchit. This company has exploded in a decade. Your mother set it up with $2 million of her own money, and you IPO'd with a valuation of $13 billion in November 2021. From A to Z in a decade. How did you achieve that?
Yeah, so thanks again, Mark, and of course, Manoj and the IGF team for having me. I'm glad we're doing this in person after a long time. So look, I think, it's obviously there's a lot of things that went into to get us to where we are today. Lots of people, lots of efforts, and lots of hits and misses. But I would say, if I was to think of what is the one major thing that really helped us to get to where we are today, I think a lot of it goes back to my mother, Falguni's background. Yeah. And having been, she's very different from most entrepreneurs in India. She was roughly 50 years of age when she started the business. So she came with a lot of experience, mostly in finance, and brought a lot of maturity to the table, understood the importance of building a very sustainable business and not chasing valuation, which sometimes becomes the focus for a lot of young entrepreneurs. So she brought a lot of stability, I think a lot of maturity into starting a business. And that's allowed us to take the right decisions, not the short-term decisions, but decisions that are good for the employees, good for the shareholders. And that, I think, has allowed us to have a long, it has been it's a 10-year, yes, it is relatively a short journey, yeah. But I think in this day and age, it's a relatively long journey.
You're a digital-first company. You're always looking at ways to enhance the shopping experience on your platforms. You're innovating. How are you innovating? How are you influencing buying behavior? How are you building, which is the key in retail, trust, customer trust?
So I think for us, it starts, we work backwards. So I think we put the customer at the center of everything that we do. And, we are an Indian company, right? We're started by Indians, based in India, Indian owned and managed. So we are specialists in our market. And so as a result, we're only focused on one consumer, and that is the Indian consumer. So that allows us to go deep. It's one consumer, it's one category, that is beauty and fashion. And so it allows us to go very deep. So I think keeping the consumer at the center of all the decisions that we take, it allows us to think backwards. And I think that's allowed us to build the right capabilities. In terms of inspiration, there's great companies globally, whether it's in Southeast Asia or Latin America or the US and Europe and UK, who are building businesses. And I think as a young company, we can be flexible and we can learn best practices from multiple different parties. I think that's been, again, very instrumental in helping us decide the way we build this business. So of course, innovation, we see what's happening with technology. We're a tech-enabled business. We are a digitally native company, so tech is at the heart of everything we do. We've got a very large team in Delhi, in Gurgaon, 400, 500 engineers who are day in, day out focusing on just solving the consumer pain points and mastering what we call the art of retail.
What are the trends that are exciting you? What are the consumption trends, Anchit, that are really being nibbled on by I use nibbled deliberately, by the way, because there's edible beauty. There's obviously clean and green beauty is a big thing as well. Yeah. What's buzzing out there right now?
So I think what we're seeing is the Indian consumer is incredibly in tune with what's happening globally. And beauty has always been a very aspirational category. And now the fact that through social media and digital channels, people are very aware of what's happening. And in India today, I would say the trends that are taking off are the ones that you're seeing everywhere else as well, whether it's in Europe or in the US. So of course, clean beauty is a very big one. I think for people, now the focus is a lot on what they're putting in their body, what they're putting on their face, and the ingredients, the sourcing, free of cruelty to animals, vegan ingredients. So I think people are very conscious now. And Nykaa wants to help to build that consciousness in the market because we do think it's important. And these are long-term sustainable trends in our point of view.
You mentioned Europe. Let's talk about the bridge. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the UK and India, that relationship, reimagining that relationship, Anchit. The UK is going to serve, I understand, as the first step towards your expansion in the European market. How important is it to have that relationship with the UK? What sort of relationship do you intend to have with the UK, with the UK consumer?
So I think for us personally, as a family, in fact, we spent a couple of years growing up in the UK, in London. My father was with Citibank in London. And so for us personally, we are very, for us, this is a second home. We have family, friends, and we spend a lot of our time here. For the business, I think, we see a massive opportunity. The first lowest hanging fruit, of course, is the Indian expat population in the UK. We've got some brands which we've started and we own that we think would be a perfect fit for the consumers, the aspirational Indian expat community in the UK, such as our brand K-Beauty, which is a joint venture with Katrina Kaif, as well as our own brand Nykaa Cosmetics. So we think these brands are a perfect fit. They're very aspirational yet affordable, high quality brands. So we think that's the low hanging fruit. Of course, again, nothing is set in stone. It's all being discussed and planned. Nothing is.
We're not breaking any news.
Yeah, there's nothing. I think
it's all in the public domain.
I think any business will always think of international expansion, and the first markets that come to mind for a business like ours
the
is
Middle East is obviously
the Gulf and the UK.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something to look forward to in the future. You mentioned your father. You mentioned Citibank. You once were an investment banker, Morgan Stanley. Exactly. How does an investment banker make that step over to beauty? Because it must have been a challenge for you, and I read this, for you to understand the beauty segment.
Yeah, look, I did investment banking at Morgan Stanley in New York for about 7-8 years, and I was doing media telecom banking. So it was very old, traditional M&A. The old wireline companies like Verizon and AT&T were some of my clients. So totally different world from beauty. But, I think beauty, by the way, is and I think that was, for me, it was a little hesitation to move from M&A into this very unfamiliar world, but it's a phenomenal business. There are some of the best companies globally, whether it's the Estée Lauder or L'Oreal Group and others. I mean, fantastic companies built by families, who've gone on to do amazing things. So I think, of course, if you want to work in this business, you have to understand what you're selling. So it did take me some time to get up to speed on foundations and serums and different textures of lipsticks, but it's a fun business. I mean, look, there's always 1,000 other things that are a lot less interesting than beauty. I would say it's one of the more interesting industries, and I love it, and I've learned a lot, and I think you have to be a master of, the industry in which you are working. So you need to know it in and out, and I think I can go head to head with anyone in any of the.
We should have a face off, shouldn't we? Like textures of lipstick.
Exactly,
who wants to face off against Anchit? Who's daring enough? Here we go. What's a question?
I love the products and
there you go.
Thank you very much.
That's all you need to say. You work with your mother, who's obviously created this amazing business in the short space of 10 years. Your father, CEO of Kohlberg Kravis Roberts in India. Your sister works with you as well. I mean, wow. I can't imagine working with my mother or my. I've got 2 daughters, or my 2 daughters. How does that work out? The pluses versus the minuses, the arguments. How often do you fall out?
So I think I'm very. For me, my mother is my mentor. She is an incredible business person, and I learn a lot from her every single day. So it's very clear that she is obviously the brains and the mastermind behind the business, and just sitting, being able to learn from her is a real joy for me. So yes, of course, I think at times you can have a difference in opinion, but we're pretty analytical about things. So we're never going to have a discussion or a debate without having facts or without having done our homework. And usually, when you've done your homework, you do tend to arrive at a similar conclusion. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we still do defer to her if there is something which she feels strongly about. And in terms of working with my sister, I think she looks after the fashion business, I look after the beauty, so there's not much overlap. But on a personal level, we're incredibly close. I think we're twins, and we've grown up together, and she is, very close friend. So we respect each other tremendously. I think respect is probably the most important thing in the business, and we respect each other, and we understand each other's capabilities. And she is incredible. She's a Yale, HBS, Harvard Business School grad. Worked in consulting at Bain. She has the pedigree. So I think you just respect one another, and you understand that she's an expert in what she does, and hopefully she thinks of me the same way. And finally, my mother is there to obviously, guide and come in where required. But otherwise, she also does give us a lot of room, a lot of rope to run with.
You know what we haven't done yet? We haven't had any questions from the audience. Lady at the front, do you want to ask Anchit a question? Go for it. Be lovely. I don't know if we have any mics. I mean, if you ask me the question, I'll repeat it to our virtual audience. Be lovely to have a question from the audience. What would you like to ask?
You spoke about clean beauty, and that's something I'm interested to know more about, because not very many Indian brands have really got onto that bandwagon. So how do you see Indian brands responding to clean beauty?
Just for our online audience, how do you see Indian brands responding to clean beauty?
Yeah, I think taking a step back, I think one thing Nykaa has done well is that we've actually created the ecosystem for Indian brands to actually grow. Before Nykaa before we began the business, it was a market that was dominated mostly by the large international FMCG brands, whether it's the Levers or L'Oreal and Estée Lauder. And I think by creating an online, offline platform where brands could overnight become large and reach a large audience without having to invest in a lot of physical retail and things like that, I think that gave rise to a lot of new direct-to-consumer brands in India. And so I think now I would say that Indian brands are doing some incredible work on the clean beauty side. Yes, albeit they're small, they don't have the kind of budgets that some of the larger FMCG brands do. But they are doing some incredible product development, and I think India is so lucky to have Ayurveda as a massive, it's not exactly clean beauty, but it's its own, it goes back thousands of years, and you see the way the West is embracing Ayurvedic brands, that, it goes to show you that, there was a trend of Korean beauty, then Japanese beauty. We are strong believers that Indian beauty can be the next global trend, led by Ayurvedic brands.
Yeah. The purpose of this wonderful forum, Anchit, is to reimagine this relationship, reimagine where we're going in the next sort of 25 years as we celebrate and mark 75 years of independence. What does the UK-India relationship mean to you, and how can we continue to forge closer ties, create that quantum leap which Prime Minister Modi talks about?
So I would say that, look, I think I can speak from personal, I heard Mr. Tharoor earlier, and I think he put it well. But what I would say is, just in having grown up over the past 30 years, just how far India has come. We grew up as a family, we lived in the US, we lived in the UK, about 20, 25 years ago. And the kind of respect that India now has, obviously on the political stage, but even, very much with friends and family globally. I think it goes to show you how far India has come. So one, for us as Indians who are obviously trying to build a business in the country, and we feel like it's been an incredible experience for us, but the respect that we are getting on the world stage, I think, is once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think the UK has been a traditional historical ally of India's, and we think we've learned a lot. Look, I went to a British school that was set up by the British. So for us in India, a lot of the great tradition of education and other things have come from the British. So we have a tremendous amount of respect. But I think Mr. Tharoor said it well when he said it has to be a relationship of respect. And that clearly is coming across in forums such as these, where you've got some of the best minds from both India and the UK on the stage together. So I think it's just, for us, it's a very proud time to be, I think the government and Prime Minister Modi have done an incredible job in really elevating India's stature on the global stage. And it really works its way down. Even for us, meeting our brand partners in different countries, you can just see the way they think of India. It's very, very exciting and promising.
Perfect place to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Anchit Nayar, CEO of Beauty E-Commerce at Nykaa. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Thanks, Mark.
And up next, Edie's back on stage. Reimagine digitizing financial services. Thank you.